Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Altaviz Munnings. Welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the National Report. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. The Met Office has issued a hurricane watch for the Southeast Islands, including islands in Anagua, Mayaguana, Crooked Island, Acklins, Long Key, Samanaki, and Ragged Island. We also want to tell you tonight that the Bahamas is in the cone of Hurricane Irma. As a result of that, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Hubert Minnis is delivering a national address tonight to the country. Joining us live is Clint Watson at the Office of the Prime Minister to introduce the Prime Minister. Good evening, Clint.
Talking about it all day. The government has been busy around the clock, just really discussing and strategizing the way forward for the Bahamas as we prepare for the onslaught of this storm. Hurricane Irma, as you see, has developed throughout the day to a Category 5. While we don't expect that to make landfall in the Bahamas as a 5, no doubt we must still be prepared. As you can know, the government of the Bahamas has been putting in place a number of measures to address this storm, particularly our residents in the southeastern Bahamas. While we've been hearing from meteorologists in the northwestern quarter of the country may not have the onslaught of this storm, no doubt the southeastern portion of the Bahamas is where the concern lies tonight. We're talking islands like Anagua, which we're told the eye may come pretty close to coming over, Acklins, Mayaguana. Now, the interesting thing about it, Altaviz, is these are islands that are still recovering from 2016 when Hurricane Joaquin came through those islands and really devastated. We were talking to a number of the island administrators today, and they were telling us it's amazing how they're preparing for this storm yet again after still trying to recover. In Salina Point, the administrator there says the one shelter they have in Salina Point had to be shored up when they recognized that this storm is at a Category 5. And that tells you the magnitude of what these people are dealing with in the southeastern Bahamas. Not to mention the fact that many of them want to get out of there. While you love your property and you want to stay close to your property, no one wants to take chances, and so they can get out, they want to get out, and that's been the word. A lot of people have been advising them all day is to get out. Now, we are waiting for the Prime Minister to enter into the room today to make this important statement. Until he gets here, we're just giving you more information about what's been happening all day throughout the southeastern islands, particularly to those who may not have been up to date on what's happening there. We can tell you in Anagua, they're very prepared there. The interesting test will be many of the administrators in the southeastern islands are new administrators, and so this is going to be their first, what we call baptism by fire, to ensure they get it right. But they are determined to get it right. They've been preparing. All the people in the southeastern islands have been preparing. We've been talking to them. They are prepared. They're ready, and they're hoping that they can escape the brunt of this storm. But if it is not possible, they are prepared. That's the most important thing there. Now, of course, throughout the day, there have been rumors about people being evacuated out. That has not happened as yet. We know the Coast Guard in Anagua may be leaving. We were told by the island administrator, but that has not happened as yet as well. People are monitoring this storm. And I can tell you it's been a beehive of activity here at the Office of the Prime Minister. People just discussing ways forward, trying to find every possible scenario that will happen to the Bahamas and exactly what needs to be the course of action going forward. They're not leaving anything up to chance or anything up to circumstance. They want to be able to have every possible scenario and a possible solution to that scenario. Again, if you're wondering why we're waiting on the Prime Minister, who is expected to be in the room at any second now to make that statement. And so we're just giving you some more information that you can possibly use to help you understand the importance of this nature. Prime Minister, the Honorable Prime Minister, he's just entered the room now, and he will make a statement speaking to this particular situation in the country.
Thank you very much.
No, man, I hear my vote. Definitely. Thank you very much. Fellow citizens and residents, good evening. I report to you this evening that we are facing one of the potentially severest natural disasters in the modern history of the Bahamas. Hurricane Irma may be one of the strongest hurricanes ever recorded. On its current path, Hurricane Irma, which is currently a dangerous Category 5 storm, with sustained winds of approximately 185 miles per hour, poses a dire threat to Mayaguana, Inagua, Crooked Island, Acklands, Long Key, and Ragged Island. The wind speed, rain, and expected storm surge make this a potentially catastrophic hurricane. Accordingly, we must act quickly to protect lives, with a particular emphasis on the residents of the southern Bahamas who are at the greatest risk. I note that Irma may also bring severe weather to the central Bahamas. Leave has been suspended for members of the Royal Bahamas Police Force and the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. Because of the potentially catastrophic effect and the potential loss of life resulting from Hurricane Irma, and after consultation with Cabinet colleagues, the National Emergency Management Agency, and the Met Office, the government has taken the decision to institute an emergency evacuation to New Providence for the residents of Maikal and Ragged Island. The emergency evacuation will begin early tomorrow morning and will be conducted by airlift. To underscore the threat posed by Hurricane Irma, I note that this is the largest evacuation in the history of the country. We are advising in the strongest possible terms that the residents of Maikal and Ragged Island comply with the evacuation of their respective islands. Let me be very clear. Those who refuse to evacuate place themselves in potentially great danger from this monster hurricane, including from dangerously strong and high storm surge, which is one of the greatest threats from a hurricane. Emergency personnel and assistance will be unavailable during the immediate impact of the hurricane for those in Maikal and Ragged Island who do not evacuate. Furthermore, rescue and recovery may take an extended period of time for those who did not evacuate. Let me again make the strongest plea possible to the residents of Maikal and Ragged Island to evacuate their respective areas. Do not put your life and those of your loved ones at unnecessary risk. Do not be foolish and try to brave out this monster storm. The price you may pay for not evacuating is your life or serious physical harm. With Hurricane Katrina in the United States and Hurricane Matthew last year, there were those who refused to evacuate. As a result, some people lost their lives in the U.S. Here at home, many lived through terror as their homes flooded, and they feared for their lives and that of their loved ones because they refused to evacuate. As I stated at the NEMA press conference yesterday, life is precious. We must make every effort to preserve and protect life, including the elderly, the indigent, and other vulnerable individuals. The evacuation from the southern Bahamas will be completed by tomorrow evening. Those who agree to evacuate should secure and bring identification with them, including passports, NIB cards, and voters' cards, as well as medication, clothing, and toiletries adequate for several days. We are asking those who agree to evacuate to contact family members, friends, and church fellowships to accommodate them during their stay in New Providence. For those who do not have such accommodations, the Kendall Isaacs National Gymnasium will be used as a major shelter for those evacuated from Michael and Ragged Island. The Roman Catholic Archdiocese has also generously agreed to the use of Loyola Hall on Gladstone Road as a major shelter. These centers will be adequately staffed by various personnel and will be secured by the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Elective and non-emergency surgeries at the Princess Margaret Hospital will be canceled to ensure that there is the necessary medical personnel to help staff at various shelters. The impending evacuation is part of the government's disaster preparedness and management plan. We are working to ensure that the evacuations are completed as efficiently and as orderly as possible, given the circumstances at hand and the possibility of the hurricane taking a different path than currently forecast. We are receiving constant updates on the location and the potential impact of Hurricane Irma. We are also closely monitoring Tropical Storm Jose, which may develop into a hurricane by Friday. As I stated yesterday, Bahamians and residents throughout the country need to monitor the location and proximity of Irma to the islands or key on which they live. Maritime traffic, fishermen, and boaters should take all necessary precautions as Hurricane Irma approaches the Bahamas. Given the dynamic nature of a hurricane, all Bahamians throughout our archipelago should closely monitor the track of this hurricane. Fellow Bahamians and residents, this is a time for national unity. In this spirit, I have briefed the leader of the opposition on Hurricane Irma. I have also invited the leader of the opposition to join me at the office of the Prime Minister during the preparation for Hurricane Irma and to offer his advice as the country faces the threat posed by this monster hurricane, including during the rescue and recovery stages after the storm passes. Before I close, let me extend the prayers, best wishes, and solidarity of the Bahamian people To our neighbors and CARICOM partners in the northern Bahamas, northern Caribbean, who will shortly feel the impact of Hurricane Irma. In the days ahead, I will call on the goodwill and generosity of Bahamians, at home and abroad, and residents, to offer whatever they can in terms of volunteerism, monetary, and other resources to help those affected by this monster hurricane. I make a special plea to the media to offer full and informed coverage, to keep Bahamians and residents abreast of the impact of this hurricane. I note once again that Bahamians and residents should avoid relying on sources of information which may be questionable or unreliable, especially potentially fake information circulated through social media. Please, please, do not resend social media posts which appear false or questionable. Let us avoid as much gossip and pain as possible. I again thank the many departments, agencies, public officials, churches, NGOs, and civil society partners involved in preparing for Hurricane Irma. Let us continue to move forward with resolve and courage. May God continue to guide and strengthen us with the spirit of resilience and community in the hours, days, and months ahead as we work together in the spirit of love and unity. Thank you, and may God continue to bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Thank you very much.
About that evacuation, the emergency evacuation that's expected to take place beginning tomorrow morning. And it just speaks to the severity of the storm and the proactiveness of the government to try and provide some measure of safety for Bahamians who are in the southeastern Bahamas. We're going to see if we can get the director of NEMA over here. We can get Captain Russell. Captain Russell, if we can get you over here a second, just to give us a little more information so the persons in the southeastern islands know what to do. Come on a little closer so we can get you in there. I know many of you no doubt wondering what to do now that you've heard the evacuation order from the Prime Minister. Can you tell us, Captain Russell, exactly how this is expected to take place tomorrow? Who will be providing the airlift out of the southeastern islands, and of course, which islands?
Okay, we have engaged all of the local airlines, primarily Bahamas Air, Sky Bahamas. One second.
Sure, go ahead. Get your glasses. We're going to find out from Captain Russell right about now which airlines will be doing the lifting out, and of course what information you need to know if you're in the southeastern part of the country, where you need to go, what you need to do in order to be a part of this evacuation.
Okay, definitely we advise the administrators and all persons who are taking part in this voluntary evacuation program. They first must register with the island administrator because they cannot go on the flights unless they have a manifest of who is coming on the flights, for one. So encourage all persons who have a desire to evacuate to register with the administrator's office. We have a number of airlines that are participating in this exercise: Bahamas Air, Pineapple Air, Sky Bahamas. Those are the two main aircraft at this time who are prepared to engage their services in evacuating persons from the islands. We have some 600 persons coming out of Greater Nagua, and Bahamas Air has pledged to put on some 5 flights for us. We have some 55 persons coming out of Ragged Island, and Sky Bahamas is going to do that for us. Maguana, some 140 persons are coming out of Maguana, and Bahamas Air will put on 2 70-seaters for us, and Pineapple Air will put on 2 15-seaters for us to bring some 30, well, eventually 55 persons out of that district, that is Crooked Island, and Acklands. 82 persons are coming out of Acklands, and Bahamas Air will cover those on 2 of their aircraft.
Are you satisfied that this is the majority of people on these islands who are coming out, or are there still some people yet still stubborn and don't want to move?
Well, I'm certain after hearing the appeal from the Prime Minister persons to come out of the island, even though we've seen 600 from Inagua, I know the numbers are going to increase overnight. And for other persons coming, just like with all the other islands, once they hear the appeal from the Prime Minister, those who are lingering and having second thoughts about it, they're going to step forward, and we're going to also have to make some adjustments with the aircraft to make sure we bring all those persons who we can out of the potentially disaster-stricken areas.
So all persons that want to get out will be accommodated?
Yes, we're going to try our very best to try and accommodate all those persons who eventually volunteer to come out. But of course, those who would have registered in a timely manner, they would get the priority to come out, and eventually we'll see how we can have the aircraft juggle themselves to go back down and recover any of the persons who have a desire to come out at the last minute.
Who are you leaving on the island, aside from those that want to stay? Will there be critical resources left on the islands to man the island?
Yes, we're having discussions with utility corporations, water and sewage, Bahamas Power and Light, and telecommunications, because they're also concerned about their personnel. But as long as you find that all the persons are not coming forward to voluntarily evacuate from the islands, some consideration has to be given to how we're going to provide basic utilities for those persons, particularly water, who would remain behind. So that's a discussion we're going to have with the various general managers of the Bahamas Power and Light, Water and Sewage, as well as telecommunications, as to how they feel about leaving their persons in a disaster-stricken area when a voluntary evacuation has already been ordered for those districts.
What happens to the residents?
The Prime Minister has said that this evacuation is a part of the emergency plan that the government is trying to put forward and obviously get legislation. We've been talking about this for many years, hurricanes, as far as mandatory evacuations.
Okay, again, that's why we're tailoring it voluntary evacuations, but he's also making a strong appeal for persons to take advantage and come forward as the free flights are put on for persons to come out of the area. Again, it was buzzed around in terms of formalizing legislation for mandatory evacuation, but this is as strong as it can get, and we hope persons adhere to what the Prime Minister is saying at this time about leaving those districts that can face catastrophic damages in the days ahead.
What time do the evacuations begin?
We hope to have the first set of aircraft coming out of Matchewtown at 8 o'clock in the morning, coming out of Matchewtown. So at first light, they're going to depart New Providence and head to the various destinations with a view of, like I said, by 8 o'clock, coming up with the first set of persons from those districts.
Thank you. I know the other press have questions for you as well, but that really is what we wanted to get for you. So those persons who are obviously in the southeastern islands have information on what you need to do. If your name is not on those lists that the administrators have, you're being asked to contact your administrators on each island and, of course, give them your name so that you can be put on a manifest. That's the only way you will be able to get out of these islands if your name is on a manifest. Don't just show up tomorrow to the airport hoping to go. You need to contact your administrator in your various islands so that you can be put on a manifest to ensure that you are out of safety. Again, the Prime Minister has appealed already to residents there to get out. No matter how much you want to stay and safeguard your property, you're being asked to evacuate because of the danger of this storm and the size of this storm. The Prime Minister used words in the beginning that gives you an idea of how serious this storm is. He used words as potential severest national disaster in modern history of the Bahamas. He used words as potentially catastrophic. He used words as this as being the most devastating storm we've seen in our history. When you hear words like that coming from the Prime Minister, it tells you how serious this storm is, and of course how serious the government of the Bahamas is taking it. It is a bipartisan approach. As you can see, the leader of the opposition has been working with the Prime Minister and his government over the past few days, offering his advice, offering his strategy. No doubt he has a stake in this, as Ragged Island is a part of his constituency. It's actually Cat Island, San Salvador, Rumkey, but Ragged Island is near his constituency as well with Long Island. And of course in Exuma Keys. But of course, this is important for Bahamians to understand that this storm is nothing to play with. It's nothing we've ever experienced before in the history of this country, and that's why it's important for you to evacuate and evacuate now. Get your name on that list so that you can head out. That will do it for us here at the Office of the Prime Minister, Out of East. We send it back to you.